Hey everyone, and welcome. It's a great problem to have when your business starts growing, right? But with more sales and more customers comes a whole lot more paperwork. Today, we're going to look at the super smart accounting tools that businesses use to keep their finances organized and handle all that awesome growth. So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about a big hurdle that growing businesses hit. Then, we'll introduce the really clever solution, these things called special purpose books. We'll break down each part of this accounting toolkit and see how they all work together. Okay, let's get right into it. Now, before we get to the solution, you've really got to understand the problem that trips up so many businesses as they start to scale. I want you to imagine you've just launched your business. It's so exciting. And every single thing that happens with money, every sale, every purchase, every payment, you write it all down in one single book called the journal. And look, when you're just starting out, that totally works. But what happens when your business takes off? Suddenly you're dealing with hundreds of transactions a day. That one journal becomes a huge bottleneck. It's slow, it's bulky, and trying to find one piece of information or spot a mistake, it's a total nightmare. So what's the fix? Well, the answer isn't to just get a bigger notebook. It's about working smarter, not harder. The real solution is to take that one overloaded journal and cleverly divide it up into a whole set of specialized books. And this, right here, is the main idea. Instead of one book trying to do everything, we create a bunch of special journals. You might also hear them called subsidiary books. Each one is a specialist, It's built to handle one specific kind of transaction over and over again, which makes everything way faster and much more organized. And this is what that new toolkit looks like. The best way to think about it is like having a set of perfectly labeled folders. All your cash stuff goes right into the cash book. All the things you buy on credit, straight into the purchases book. You get the idea. Each book has one very specific job. All right, so let's pop open this toolkit and look at the first one. We're going to start with the real workhorse, the busiest book of them all, the cash book. This is command central for all the money flowing in and out of the business. Now, here's what's so cool about the cash book. It actually plays two roles at once. It's a journal where you first record transactions, but it also acts as your final cash and bank account in the ledger. It's like a 2-for-1 deal, which is incredibly efficient and exactly why it's a favorite in all kinds of businesses. This is a very common format, the double-column cash book, and it's set up so brilliantly. Think of it this way. All the money coming in, your receipts, goes on the left, the debit side. And all the money going out, your payments, goes on the right, the credit side. And you have two separate columns on each side to track physical cash versus money in the bank. But what happens when you're not spending money but just moving it around? Like, let's say you take some cash from your cash register and go deposit it into your company's bank account. Well, that's called a contra entry. Since it affects both cash and bank, you actually record it on both sides of the cash book to show that movement. And here, check this out, here's how it looks in real life. On December 5th, you can see cash was put into the bank. So it's recorded on the right side as cash going out and on the left side as money received by the bank. See that little C in the column there? That marks it as a contra entry, showing how the two sides perfectly balance each other out. Okay, so the cash book is amazing for all our cash and bank stuff. But as you know, a lot of business doesn't happen with cash up front. I'm talking about credit. And that's where our other special books come into the picture. Now, this is super important, so listen up. These books are very, very specific. The purchases book is only for buying the goods you plan to resell and only on credit. If you buy a new desk for the office, that doesn't go here. Same for the sales book. It's just for credit sales of your regular products. Any cash deals go in the cash book, and buying assets like that desk, well, that goes somewhere else we'll talk about in a minute. Of course, sometimes things have to be returned, so we have two more specialist books for that. The purchases return book, or return outwards, is for when goods go out from us back to our supplier. And the sales return book, or return inwards, is for when goods come into us back from a customer. And again, these are just for returns on things that were originally bought or sold on credit. Okay, let's recap. We've got our cash neatly filed away, our credit sales and purchases are sorted, and we even have a place for returns. But what about all the other stuff? The random transactions that don't seem to fit into any of those neat little boxes. Well, that is exactly why we have the journal proper. Honestly, you can just think of it as the everything else book. It's the catch-all. Its entire job is to make sure that there's a home for every single transaction a business makes, no matter how unusual. So what kind of stuff ends up here?
Well, think about all the important, but, not an everyday thing transactions. Things like the first entries you make to start a new year, adjustments for things like depreciation, fixing any errors you find, and, oh, remember that office desk we bought on credit? Yep, this is where you'd record that.
All right, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. We've seen all the individual tools in the toolkit, but what's the real powerful advantage of setting up your accounting this way? The benefits are just huge. I mean, you can have one person handling cash while another is focused just on sales. This division of work makes everything so much more efficient, and it's way more accurate too. If you think there's an error with your sales numbers, you just check the sales book, not some giant messy journal. All of this saves time, which saves money, and it gives you this crystal clear, organized financial data. And that is what helps you make smart decisions for your business. So you see, you go from this one potentially cluttered book to a super clean, streamlined, and really powerful system. This kind of organization isn't just about being tidy. It's about giving a business the clarity it needs to make good choices and to keep on growing. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. If you were starting your own business tomorrow, knowing everything you know now about how money and transactions flow, which of these special books would be your number one priority to set up first? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for watching.